Aloha artists, Miss Maggie here. Today I'm going to introduce you to a beautiful work of art that expresses a unique and amazing animal. I can't wait to show it to you. We are going to look at this work of art, think about it, and then create some artwork inspired by it. But first, what are the supplies that we're going to need? Well, the supplies this week are pretty simple. You're going to need a small drawing paper, a pencil, one that's going to be great for drawing, nice sharp tip, and a good eraser. So, small drawing paper, pencil, and eraser. Get those supplies and meet me right back here. So, before I introduce you to this work of art, how do we read a work of art? What are we going to look for? I know you know this. Facial expression, focal point, gesture, clothing, setting, objects, quantity, size, and color, right? Well, let's take a look at this work of art and see what sort of things that you can observe in it. This tiger was painted in the 18th century in Korea, a country in Asia. Wow, isn't it beautiful? You can use the link right up here and zoom on in. I'd like you to notice right now as many details as you can. And so go to the link to view the tiger and click on that magnifying glass. And so with that, you can now zoom in. See that little box with that slider? That allows you to see how far you're zooming in and control that. And you can also move that little box around in that rectangle to see different areas, or you can drag yourself around the picture itself. Zoom in on the face. Notice the facial expression. What mood or feeling is this tiger expressing? Try that expression out on your own face. Where is its focal point looking? Try that. Remember that too when you're making the face. That's my best impression of it. I'd love to see yours. But when you think about it, why did the artist choose to make it looking off to the side? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Now, zoom out and look at the gesture of the whole body. Try out this pose in your own body. See how it feels like to arch your back. How are the paws? One is in front of the other, isn't it? Imagine your tail curling up like that. Interesting. How does it feel to be in that pose? Now, zoom back in. Zoom in a lot. And check out the fur. Look at different areas to see the textures of the fur. How do you think the artist painted it to look like that? It's pretty interesting. This artist used ink with water added to it for the lighter values, and then dark ink without water added to it for the darker values. Today we're going to use pencil, but we will also be using value, dark and light, in order to give the same feeling of the tiger. Now that we've looked closely at it, what do you think's going on in this picture? What is this artwork about? What are your ideas of what's happening in this artwork? How about putting your ideas into a sentence like this? When I see blank, I think blank. Or when I see blank, I feel blank. It could also be something you wonder. I'm going to post this photo on our class Padlet, and I would love for you to comment what you think, feel, or wonder about this artwork. Okay? I'll be looking for your comments there. Now that we've taken a close look at this artwork, we're going to draw our own version of it. We are going to look closely at it and see if we can figure out how this artist created it and make it our own. So I have my small drawing paper here, and I have it vertical. I have it tall, just like the artwork. And you can keep looking closely at the link I shared with you. And I'm also using this printout here so I can show you some things that I look for as an artist when I'm trying to draw something the way I see it. The first thing I'd like you to look for is how much of the paper the artist filled with the tiger. Is this tiger small, or is it touching the edges? Where is it touching the edges? Notice that, because we're going to touch the edges there too. Like right here on the bottom, and over here on the side, and then the tail is touching over here, isn't it? But not at the top, though that tail is going pretty high up there. Here is something else I'd like you to do. We're going to take our paper and we're going to put a couple little mini folds in it, not all the way across. But I'm going to take these bottom corners, bring them to the top corners, match them up, and then do a little pinch there and a pinch there, not across, just so I have two mini marks there. And then the same thing in the other direction. Bottom, top. That's it. So see how now I have some little mini marks. So I know where the middle of my paper is, where the middle of this part is, where the middle of this part is. So now I can look at, for instance, is the head of the tiger in the middle of the paper? Is it in the top part of the paper? Is it in the middle of the bottom part? I see that it is in the bottom right-hand side. How about that front paw? Where does the paw touch the edge of the paper? Where would that be on your paper? I see it right down here. How about the tail? Is the tail touching the paper at the center point, or is it above that? I see it touching above the center point here, and then again over here. In the tallest part of the tiger's body, it's right in the center and high up, but not as high as the tail. So those marks help me think about where different parts of my tiger are going to go. So everything we draw is made out of lines and shapes, and I am looking for the lines and shapes that make up this tiger, and then figuring out what size and where do they go. Those little guidelines help me think it out. So first thing I'm going to do is make the tiger's body, and I know that it touches the side over here, and I think that's just about the center of the paper there, and it goes down a little bit, so that's going to be a part of it. And I know the top of it is in the center line, but pretty high up, but still with space for the tail above. And I know the back of the body doesn't touch the end because the tail comes out, and it's about in the center. And so I see that I kind of have a shape that I'm going to need to make like this. And I'm going very sketchy. It's not perfect. I'm doing light lines. And that doesn't look like a tiger at all. But we just began. Like, for instance, I know that the head, well, that line comes off the paper, but then it curves back in. And the head, it gets close to the center, but it really is all on this side. And so the head is going to be over here. And I see that this paw, it's a really strong diagonal line. It's coming right past the cheek. Right past the cheek, all the way down. Oh, wow. Right down like that. And there's the other mark, the other edge, that comes like this. And then I've got the paw. And maybe I'll fix the paw up more later. It's interesting how narrow the body is right there. It's like it all came to a point. And the head, ooh, I can see there's a little bit of the paw there, and then there's the head. And so I've got some shapes like that. Interesting. You know a line that's going to help me that I just noticed? See that line there? I bet if you zoom in to your picture, you'll notice it even more. That's coming out of the middle of the head. The head, when I'm going to put the face in, which isn't yet, I'm going to use a grid like that. But I see from the top, middle of the head, comes out this curved line. Interesting. Now, some of these things I'm telling you, I'm probably going a little bit fast, but can you stop the video and draw and then start it again? You can. Can you rewind and watch parts again? You can. So, what else do I need to notice? How about those back paws? I see that this line comes down and it curves, but that back paw, I need to make sure that it doesn't come down as far. So make a little mark there. I see it goes down, and that line's got a diagonal too. And I've got some big tiger paws there. And I see that that comes up, that line there comes high up in like that. Because it really, all those parts come close together. It's like when you're bending over and your tummy's all crunching together. So we have that. How about that back leg? See that little bit right there? Right there, it's going behind. That leg is connected to that little bit right there. Still, really doesn't look like a tiger yet, does it? I bet it needs the tail. And then don't worry, we'll get the face in there. The tail, do you see where that comes out? Above the center point, right there. It curls off, and then it comes in, hits, and then down. I'm going to follow that on here. You can follow it on the screen with your finger. Goes off, in, up, and then it's sort of like a backwards question mark. And I'm going to start down here again. That part doesn't go off, just follows it, goes up, okay. Getting that more how I like it. See how it's really sketchy? Because I didn't like my first lines exactly. And so I'm putting in the lines that I want. And then after I get the lines that I do want, I erase the lines that I don't want. And sometimes I have too many lines. And I got to do a bunch of erasing. But I don't worry about erasing and then drawing a little bit and then erasing a little bit. I draw a bunch and then I do some erasing. Okay. And all that sketchiness, that can just become the fur later anyways, okay? And so, that's starting to look a little bit more like the tiger. Ooh. How about the face? Let's zoom in on the face. Check it out close up. Not too close, but close enough that you can see the whole face clearly. That'll be even more useful than this paper here. But one thing I bet you can notice is that the face is symmetrical. And so having it divided in quarters is going to be useful. And I notice that the center is right between the eyes. And the first thing I'm going to do is that nose. And this artist had an interesting way of drawing a tiger's nose. Goes down like that, sort of like a U, but it gets a little bit narrower at the top. And then from right there, right on this line, are the eyes. And those eyes connect to the nose. The top of the eye is almost flat, but it's got a curve. And then from right there, it comes down and comes up. And then the other side is the same thing, but mirror image of it. So can we make it look the same but opposite? It's almost flat, but has a little curve going up. And then it has a curve from that spot going up, but that part of the eye comes a little bit further. And then that tiger's focal point, he's looking down and off the screen. There we go. I've got the eyes and the nose. How about the mouth now? So a little bit comes down there. That's the narrowest part. It's going to go whoop, whoop, like that. Oh, and it has one more there. It has a little one and a bigger one. And then here it gets lost in the fur a little bit. It goes in and up and follows the circle around. And it has some little ears, lots of fur, and little ears coming out of the fur, bit of head there. And I think so much else I'm going to do with the shading. So before I do the shading, I'm going to get rid of those guidelines that I put in. Before we do the shading, let's see what other details can we make clearer for the body. I noticed that he's got one paw out, we know that, and then another paw hiding behind. Is he sneaking around? I also noticed it looks like the body's coming down more right here. Sometimes I notice more as I work on it further, and I see a little bit of the paw coming out to there. So I don't have to draw it perfectly, but I'm showing that there's something there. Now, look closely at the different parts of the body and see what details do you need to make clearer. I'm pretty much there with the shapes. He has a long ways to go to really look like that, but now we're going to be working with shading and value. Let's just warm up our shading on the back of our paper for a moment. With a pencil, we can get hard and dark, we can get very soft, and we can get everything in between. Practice with me doing your lightest shading you can. See how smooth you can make that shading? Can you go even lighter? Try lighter, lighter, lighter. And can you make it so that it is even? And then see if you can be a little bit darker. Still even. And then darker and darker and darker. Nice and even. Now, what I want you to do is zoom in to a spot on the tiger and see, well, how can you use hard and soft to create that part there? What are those strokes looking? Are they like this? Are they using the side of your pencil? See how I'm using the side there? Are some parts hard and some parts soft? I bet that might look good there for some parts. And so think about how you can show fur using your pencil. Think about direction it's going in, the texture, and how hard or soft you're going to go. You can try a bunch on the back of your paper. And then when you think you've got some ideas down, let's work on the front. So the face, I know I really want to do the face, but let's practice on a part that's less important first, but still fun. How about the tail? This is a great place to try out using the tip of my pencil versus the side of it. Try out those textures on the actual tiger. There's light areas and dark areas. How hard and how soft do you want to use your pencil? So there I have hard and soft, dark and light, and it is a furry tail. Okay, I think I'm warmed up. I'm going to work on that face now. So for the face, I noticed that there are some different textures in there, and those textures and shapes help tell about the animal and its facial expression. For instance, I noticed that the eyes have a dark outline, and I noticed some really interesting lines right above the eyes, making the eyebrows. And then there's sort of a shape there. And I see this curve, this sort of almost zigzag shape there. And this part seems to have sort of a speckled look to it. But it is definitely darker than the eyebrows. And then I see that the nose is very even. So that is where I'm going to do shading that is even. You try it out. And I see that it is darker along the edges. And I see that the tiger has some darkness along the jowls there. And then dots in there and lines on the face coming around. And see, now we're starting to get some tiger action here. Got to be patient with art. Those details, they add up over time and they start to make it look the way you want it to. And it's not going to be exactly as you imagined, but keep working on it and it will get there. Throw some whiskers in there. Ooh, and needs some more shading closer to the nose. I'm looking at the picture. Where is it dark? Right between the eyes. And I notice, where else is it dark and where else is it light? In the head. I know these are little details, but I also know that you can find them. And you might see them a little bit different than me. That's fine. Put in what you notice. Make your tiger come to life, even if it ends up being different than the one that was made in the 18th century Korea. But there's so many beautiful details in this one. Might as well try to see if you can get them. I see that that line that I had before, it's very solid. And this tiger, it has so much fluff and fur that I'm getting rid of the hard line and making it so that it is just my texture. And let's see, that area in there, it's still more fur, but not so hard. I'm going to do some with the side of my pencil here. I'm checking where it needs a little bit more dark value, and I'm checking the eyes. I want to make sure the focal point is clear. I practiced doing the tail. I did the face, which was the hardest part. I'm going to keep doing that shading and texture throughout the body. I bet I can get a good pattern down, and it's going to go great. Remember that line there? That's where its two shoulders are coming together. That's like right between the shoulder blades. And I'm seeing, where do those tiger lines go? Ooh, I kind of like this way of doing it. I'm going to need to put some other texture in there too. But this is putting those stripes in quickly with the side of my pencil. And some of those stripes are longer than others. Some connect in, but they all kind of have this curve going around the body and going down to this spot if they're coming this way. And of course, then there's the lighter parts in between. This is the first one. Looks like it goes all the way across there. It really is fun making these lines with the side of my pencil. Now, it needs some fur too, so I'm doing this texture too. So many ways to create texture just with pencil and value, isn't there? Right off the edge. See the fluff really easily in the light areas and at the edge of the tiger. I'm going to get rid of that solid line again and make it fluff. Fluff, 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 fluff. Ooh, I'm loving that texture. I bet yours looks different, but also really neat. Just keep going with it. And if there's a part you're really not sure what to do with, try it on the back. So I'm using the side of my pencil to get the stripes and the main dark and light values. And then I'm going in and using the point to put in the texture. And sometimes the texture is harder and sometimes it's softer. And I'm always looking at what direction those stripes are going in. Around the tail, there's some really interesting directions, and I follow them right down the leg. And then I come in with the tip of the pencil and I put in that fluff. There's some areas that are a lot darker than others in the fluff. Interesting how different parts of the body have the fur in different directions. You really want to pay attention to the direction of your pencil to get the texture of the fur to be like it is in the picture. Like I see some of the fur is going this way, and then some of it is going that way, and then up here it's going this way. Wow. Zoom in, look closely, and see what's happening in each area. You can be inspired by that for how you color yours. When you think you are almost done, step back from your artwork, look at it from a distance, and notice, where does it need more dark? Where does it need more light? I'm thinking it needs a little bit more detail in the fluff along here. So that is where I'm going to add a little bit more. You can always stop and look at your artwork and see, what else does it need to make your tiger feel like it's going to come right off the page? Wow, I know that was some challenging pencil shading. I hope that you have a bunch of new ideas of how to use your pencil to create value and texture. And I hope you feel like you have drawn an animal in a way that's maybe different than you've ever drawn an animal before. Here is your reflection question. I would like you to fill in the blanks in this sentence. When people see the blank in my drawing, I hope they feel blank because. So, mine is when people see the way the tiger has one paw in front of the next, I hope they feel nervous and excited because the tiger is maybe stalking its prey. What's yours? Share your artwork and your sentence with me in Seesaw, if that's what we used, or in the Padlet link right down here. Okay, I look forward to seeing it. Remember, Share this artwork with your teacher, share it with me, put it up somewhere where your family can enjoy it and that will make their day, and put away your supplies so they're handy next time. Can't wait to make more art with you then. Ahui ho!